Okay, so we'll get going here. This is also recorded, so will be available in our YouTube channel later on. Hello all, my name is Gilad Shriki. I'm one of the co-founders at Descope. And what I'm going to do today is give you a demo of Descope, the platform, and some of the very cool capabilities and some of the functionality around our authentication flows and journeys. And it's going to be very, very cool. So stay tuned. A little bit about Descope before. We are a complete customer identity and access management platform. We specialize in authentication and authorization. We provide all security around authentication and authorization. We have different authentication methods from the passwordless methods of the world, including passwords, and that's something we're going to see today. We do B2C and B2B. We have authentication methods for the enterprises like SSO, identity federations. We do authorization with the different levels of authorization from RBAC to FGA. And we provide a lot of self-service capabilities and components to you to implement in your application very easily. We have full user management, and the platform itself is built around very secure concepts and basically provide you with the out-of-the-box capability to secure any authentication journeys that you would like to build, including bot protection. We have some strong authentication methods like Passkeys and complete enterprise grade audit mechanisms and permissions to the application itself. The platform itself provides different ways of integration. Today, we're going to focus on the Descope flows, which is our UI journeys, but we also provide SDK and API. All of our documentation is open, so feel free to browse around. I'm going to focus, like I said, on the flows today. But again, everything I'm going to do today is also available in other ways, like integrating our SDK or APIs. A little bit about Descope that I'm going to show you. So this is a screenshot. So it's really a visualized manner to display the user journeys with screens, actions, conditions, connectors. It allows you to create your authentication journeys with user-facing screens that you can design and you can style and structure the way your application needs. It can be embedded in your application, or it can be a page that you redirect to. So we support both methods. Different authentication flows. We have initial authentication, we have MFA, we have step up, so you can control different authentication flows for different scenarios in your application. Full error handling in a user-facing capabilities. You can customize your errors, you can create error screens. Some cool functionality like A/B testing and analytics, so you can create different A/B testing routes for your users. You can say, hey, I'm going to take 20% of my users and direct them to a different authentication methods, like when you go passwordless or when you want to add additional capabilities. And of course, like I mentioned, connectors. We support a very wide range of connectors to connect from the flow in order to both bring data into the experience from third party, from your endpoints, or to push information from the flow or from the journey out into other systems. And I'm going to speak about some of those in my demo. In the demo itself, and I'm going really to jump in a minute, we're going to show a sample application that is working with passwords. We all like passwords, like my t-shirts. That's what we want to do to passwords. We are going to demonstrate how to go passwordless. I'm going to start with adding socials and passkeys into an existing password implementation. I'm going to talk a bit about how we implemented it and how the code looks like. And then we're going to look at how we implement adaptive MFA. So this is something that is very popular today to implement MFA on top of current authentication methods. But instead of implementing MFA every time the user logs in, We want to show how to enforce MFA when the device is new and when there is a different scenario in the journey that mandates MFA. And then for the normal scenarios, do not do MFA because usually it's the same device, same user. So there's very little risk there. And then the third piece is using connectors. I'm going to do something cool and funny. We're going to integrate our login experience with Chuck Norris jokes, and we're going to show a joke every time the user tries to log in. Just to showcase the ability to integrate with a third-party webhook, bring data, show it to the user. It's one of the examples that we can do in the flow, and we'll talk about other things during the flow. So with that, I'm going to jump right in. I'm going to basically start in our console and do a little quick walkthrough through the console. This is where the developer builds and set up their environment. This is the Descope console. Obviously, this is the view of the developer, not the view of the end user, and we'll talk about that in a minute. But as you can see in the first page, this is the home page. We have some graphs about the activity, about what's going on with the users, some popular views of the flows and how they are interacted. We'll get to that in a minute. We also have some little getting started process to showcase the different capabilities and how to take through a developer and with the wizard experience build their flows. So we're going to skip this one now. These are all the authentication methods we support. Each authentication method would have the different configuration. If it's something that's delivered via email or phone, like one-time password or magic link or enchanted link or any other links, you can configure the templates. You can configure which connector you're going to use to send the text message or the email. All the way you see here, all the way to the last one. That's our least favorite one. As I said, we have passwords. There's password policy, very flexible capabilities around policies, again, to allow you to secure that method as much as possible. Then we'll have the flow and widgets. These are our web components that you can implement in your code, in your application. This is what we're going to showcase today. So I'm going to skip them, but these are the places where you would manage them, configure them, and we're going to go through them in a minute. We also have the widgets. Again, widgets are a dedicated web component that you can place in your application for specific use cases like user profile. Instead of you building user profile, allowing the user to change their name, to change their email, to change their password, we give you a ready-made component that you can actually implement in your application. Obviously, you can style it the way you need to. Styling is important because we sit inside your application, because it's not like a simple redirect outside. We want the component or any UI component that we render to look exactly like your application. There is no powered by Descope anywhere, as you can see. The idea is that users should not be even aware that this is happening. And you can see that we allow you to style the different components, its colors, fonts, the behavior of buttons, of labels, of almost anything that is actually presentable to the user can be styled to look exactly like your application. Localization is a strong feature. We provide you with a strong capability to localize your interface and set up the different strings that are presented to the user. Connectors, again, the third-party connectors that we talked about in the deck. But again, I'm going to go through those in a minute. Then we have the management of the platform, managing of users, access keys, tenant, applications. So all these will allow you to manage your profile, your project or your environment of the application. But I really want to get into the cool things. We do have a sample application. We call it $. I know it's misspelled, but it was kind of like cool. And for some people it was cool, I'm not sure, but this is a simple sample application. It supports username, password, and you can see we also have like a sign up capabilities, or we have a forget password capabilities. And of course, if I log in, I just log in, and this is my application. Again, it's a revenue management application. Let's call it that way. It has different ways, but as you can see, I am logged in, and this is what the most of the time I will spend between showing you the login experience and how I log in into the application. We do have here some of the widgets, some of the different widgets that we have. Again, this is an audit widget. Think about you want to expose to your enterprise customers an audit of who logged in and who actually did something. You can expose a widget for that. Same for user profile, and same for user management. Again, some of the capabilities that we provide to B2B applications to actually enhance their capabilities and self-service capabilities to their customers. But again, I'm going to focus more about the logout and login piece. I'm going to jump between Descope and this page to show you the experience. So you've seen I've logged in with a username and password. I'm going to show you the flow just to understand what happened. So as you could see, I got this page, this login page. So this is the same page that you're seeing here. It's just rendered inside my application. To actually render it, let me show you the code. This is the code that is part of this application, and we just show it as part of the UI here just to explain how easy it is. This is basically how you implement Descope flows in your front end. Very easy, very simple action. It's basically a React component or a web component, depending on your architecture, and we have all these different platforms supported. This is an open source repo. You can have a look. By the way, $.biz, that's where this app, and you are more than welcome to actually browse to it and experience it yourself. Anyway, logging in with username and password, I just showed you that. And then you can see that this is the same page that I've seen, and I can change it. I can change, I can change the welcome to hello world. And once I save it and refresh the page, it's automatically rendered. So everything is really immediate. You can iterate very quickly when you develop. You can then obviously support a full CI/CD pipeline, but overall, the flows are the only place you need to change anything in order to change your login experience. So you notice I didn't change anything in my application. That includes text, that includes structure, and that includes login methods, which I'm going to display now. So you have the you see the don't have password, forget your password, and sign in. Sign in just takes us through a sign-in password. If the password is expired, we do have a page to set up a new password, and then the end. The end means the user is logged in, they got the JWT token, and they can now act in front of my backend services. If the user clicked forgot password, we take them to a forgot password page. We're actually verifying their identity with an OTP to their email. We're asking them for the OTP, and then we're actually allowing them to set password. So basically, how will that look like? I click on forget password. I'm asked for my email. I can give my email. I'm actually getting an OTP to my email. And once I actually plug in my email into my code, I now allow to do a reset password. I don't want to change my password just yet. I want to show you more things, but let's go back to the main page and go back to the flow. So this is how the flow looks. You can see it's not that complicated. It's basically 3 main routes, right? So log in with password, create an account with password, and change my password if I forgot it. This is basically your most basic login experiences that are out there. But let's say I want to experiment. Let's say I want to do some more. Let's say I want to add socials to it. So allow the user to log in with socials. How would that look? So let's have a look. So first of all, I would need to change this page, right? So instead of showing email, password, and sign in, I can simply come here, add a little divider at the end, let's say or, and then maybe create a little container for our next set of buttons and grab Google into it, right? So now we have the sign in and then or sign in with Google, or let's call it continue with Google, because usually when you use Google, you don't do sign in or sign up. Usually it's basically an automated way to go in. So I'm going to do continue with Google. Once I save this page, you'll see it's automatically rendered here, but it's not connected to anyone, right? So let's see what we need to connect it. So here you see, if I zoom in, you'll see the social now here, and let's add the OAuth and the sign up or in OAuth action. So this action would actually make connection between the app and the OAuth provider, depending on what button I selected. And you can see, and I'll just save it for a second and show you. Under the social, we have all the vendors that we support. So you can see we support the majority of the top, all the popular ones, but obviously you can have additional ones as custom provider. So let's go back to the flow. So I already connected the OAuth here, and the only thing I need to do is, well, now I can do multiple things, but the basic one, say, okay, I logged in with OAuth, I have everything I need, let's just end the flow and get the user in. So what will happen now is I now can log in with that new button that we added. Let's refresh the flow, and if I click on continue with Google, I'm logged in. And the very cool thing that happened behind the scenes, which we didn't see, is that Google provided us with an email and we merged the identities. So Descope will automatically merge identities from OAuth providers that are verified, meaning if the vendor like Google, Microsoft, Facebook actually verify my email address and give us as part of the API the fact that the email is verified, we will merge that user with an existing user with the same email. Again, this is all controllable with the application. You can decide what experience you want. You can even do ask the user, hey, we found a different user with that email. Do you want to merge those accounts? You can do all these things. These are very popular experiences, but this is as easy as it gets. Another concept that you might want to do is, hey, you know what? I want to also allow users to log in with passkeys. So I can have here passkeys and actually add the button here. And as you can see, let's do continue with passkey. So the difference between Google and Passkey is, for Passkey, you need to register, right? You need somewhere in our flow to actually set up the passkey to the user. So we can do that in multiple places. We can actually say, hey, we're going to start asking users to add passkey to their account every time they log in. So first of all, before all that, let's just add the passkey WebAuthn sign in into the flow. Let's place it here. You see here, I have a new button here, Passkey WebAuthn. Let's send it here. And again, once I logged in, let's create a new end to the flow and connect it. So this will allow me to log in with Passkey, but I don't have Passkey on this app. So I need to set up Passkey to this user. Now we're getting into some of the magic of the flow. So let's say I want to start asking the user every time they log in and they don't have passkey, do they want to add passkey? So let's follow that sign-in flow. So we have a sign-in with password, and then we change if the password is expired, we change it. But right before the end here, I want to check, and let's disconnect those. I want to check with a condition if the user has a passkey. Okay, so let's call it check passkey, and let's say passkey exists, or passkey no passkey. So now we have multiple conditions, as you can see, that can control the logic in our flow. So we can think of different things from the device, from the user, IP address, geo position. You can actually say, you can control the flow, whether the user is coming from different countries or different IP addresses. So here, I'm going to check if the user actually has passkey, and that's user.webauthn. We have some, when I hover, you can see some information and guidance. So if the user is WebAuthn, means the passkey exists. So let's connect these lines. So let's review the logic here, right? So user logged in with password. Now we're checking, hey, does the user have a passkey? Now, if the user has a passkey, remember, they logged in with password. If they have a passkey, I don't need to ask them again. They use passwords. Probably they forgot. I'm going to just let them in. right? So I'm connected to the end. But if the user does not have passkey, now I can ask them, do they want to add passkey? So I can create a new screen, put it here. I can say, let's call this add passkeys. Okay, let's do H subtitle, and then we can add another text to it saying, would you like to add passkey? Okay, then we'll do two buttons. Okay, yes and no. Let's add them. Actually, let's add them in a container, so they'll be one by one. So two buttons, yes and no, and let's be polite. So yes, please, or no, thank you. Okay, this is me being polite. And now, if the user logged in with password and they don't have passkey, let's ask them. Now, if they don't want to, right? So they say, no, thank you. We'll take them to the end. But if they do want to, so let's actually create a passkey. Let's update the user and add them passkey. And once they're done, we'll send them to the end. So now what happens is user logs in with passwords. We see that they don't have a passkeys. We ask them, do you check? Let's call this check, ask for, just name the screen. So we ask them for passkeys, and if they say no, thank you, we go to the end. If they say yes, please, we update them and allow them to add passkey. Now, of course, there's a lot more to it. For example, you don't want to bother them any time, so you can add a condition, and if they say no, you save the timestamp, and only after 30 days or what have you, you ask again. I mean, for now, for the sake of this demo, let's go and have a look. So now, if I come back here and let's log in, so you see what happened. I'm logged in, and I'm asked to add passkeys. If I say yes, please, okay, let me fix that because, okay, I get the passkey. This is not a browser, right? This is an interface. My Mac is doing that, so you might not have seen my fingerprint modal, but it was there. I gave it my finger, and now I'm logged in. And now next time I logged in with password, right? So I need to actually put the right password. I'm in. So I wasn't asked again because my user already has passkey. But of course, if I already have passkey, I can click continue with passkey, give it my finger, and I'm in. So it's that easy, right? It took us less than 5 minutes, and we added both social and passkeys. This was very easy, as you can see, and it's also very easy to track it here. But let's do something a bit even cooler. I know this was very cool, and you guys are all raving, and I know it's a webinar, you cannot tell me that. But let's do something cool. Let's actually look at the connectors and see what we can do. So first thing in connectors I want to show you is we have something called Have I Been Pwned. Now, for the security folks around here, you're probably familiar with it. You probably know that some of the passwords, or a lot of the passwords, or all of the passwords were leaked in some breach or some kind of breach. So what we can do here, we can actually create a connector for Have I Been Pwned, which is a database of all the breached password. They just store the hashes of the breached password. And you can actually go and say, hey, when a user is signing up with password, and that is happening here, right? So remember the sign up here in that flow, right? Create account, set a password. We can actually say, hey, you know what? Let's check the Have I Been Pwned. Let's put it here for a second. And when the user is trying to sign up with a password that is actually breached already, let them know, tell them, don't allow the sign up, right? So let's look at how this will work, and I'll log out for a second. So let's say I'm trying to sign up, right? and let's use a different email. Let's use this email. And then if I'll try to say, this is a password that was breached, you can see that it told me password used as appeared in public data breach, right? So it actually prevented me to sign up with a bad password that was already breached. Now, you can control the experience, of course. You can say, hey, if the password is breached, you can provide a different message, or you can even say, I'm going to take the user through a different flow in the route in the flow, like different screen and what have you. But you can see how with a simple step, you can actually increase security of your passwords. Now, I'm showing this here as part of create account. You can put this connector anywhere in the flow. You can say when the user is creating an account or when the user is actually changing the password. You can even go and say, I'm going to check it every time. Again, it's up to you where you place this, and this is what you can actually control the flow the way you want to. But this is very cool, and I'm sure you guys are all excited. But let's add some even cooler things. Let's say I wanna, in this page, I wanna keep it interesting for the users, right? Let's say I want to add a text with a joke every time the user comes to this page, right? And I want to add here in this text my favorite Chuck Norris joke. So there is, and let's keep this text there for a second. There is a very cool service, let's save. There is a very cool service called the Chuck Norris Jokes API. I'm going to use it. So I'm going to set up a generic HTTP, right? That will actually allow me to access any API. This is a generic HTTP connector, and the URL itself is pretty easy. It's chucknorris.io /jokes, and let's go the category dev. So we have some kind of dev things, but there are different categories, and let's create. So I just created a connector that is a basic HTTP, so you can see how I can create connector to almost everything that is available, whether it's my systems or third party. And then in the login experience, just before the start, so just before we get into this page, I want to create that connector, and this would be an HTTP GET to Chuck Norris. Let's put the actual results in a key called Chuck Norris. Now, what will happen is every time I go to this login page, this will run. This will bring a random joke to the context of this execution of the flow. And here, I will simply use connectors.chucknorris.value. So I know this because I checked it and it's working, and trust me. And I went to that API and saw the structure. Let's do let's change the italic, let's change the color to gray, and click done and save. So let's see, maybe it will work, maybe not, I'm not sure. But hey, we got the Chuck Norris joke. Chuck Norris breaks RSA 128-bit encrypted codes in milliseconds. So you can see every time I refresh, it goes to this API and it brings us a different joke. So this is just to showcase how we can access any service using APIs and bring that data into either the screen. You can run conditions on it. You can actually control the flow based on that. And this goes both ways. You can even do a post with other informations of the user, and you can push information out. In this case, it was very static URL, but again, you can send the email of the user and get some information back, or control the flow based on that response. And you can do a lot of things using those connectors, which are very powerful capabilities. So I think we're right on time, even 1 minute late, but I hope you enjoyed this. I hope I will start seeing more Chuck Norris jokes in your login pages. And thank you very much for the time. And that's it. And I'll see you next time. Have a good rest of your day or evening, wherever you are. Thank you.